Across our neighbourhood and across the world, live from Thomas Carr College in Tarneit, you are listening to CEM Radio Edweek on Live FM. Now, my name is Oliver Pond, and this is Mr. Craig Holmes. And welcome, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you, Oliver.
Now, Mr. Holmes, you've been Thomas Carr College's principal for 2 years now, and since this year's been a bit of a different year, how's it been like?
I've really enjoyed my time, Oliver. It was a new challenge for me, having been a principal for 8 years, coming to a new school and taking up the mantle of a different group of people, a different culture here that exists, but one that has been really surprising to me in terms of how well the school amalgamates so many people from so many different backgrounds. And the experience so far, I have to say, is great. We all know that the COVID-19 year is one that we'd like to forget, but in that, we really do believe there's been opportunities as well, and I think we can learn a lot from the year that we've had.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mr. Holmes. Now, I'll start with my first interview question is, why do you want to be principal of this school?
Well, first of all, I think being a principal is a privilege. It's not something that is a right that comes to you. It's something that you have to work towards. And when you go for that interview, you have to convince the people that you are the right fit for the school and that you're there for the right reasons. And for me, what I wanted for Thomas Carr College was to see us flourish as an organisation. I want students to have pride in themselves, and I see that in you, Oliver. You know, students will wear their uniform really well, they come to school, they're engaged, they really want to make the best of their educational opportunities. And I hope that wears off on all students, that they have that same sense of pride.
All right, thank you, sir. And what are your top priorities in this position?
Certainly. Again, I think if we have a school where everyone says, I am a student of Thomas Carr College, then I know that people have that pride. Other than that, we really need to work towards that culture of excellence, Oliver, and that is that every student should be doing their personal best. I want to see every student aspire, because if we are not aspiring to be our best, then we're not taking advantage of every opportunity, and there are so many opportunities in the school.
All right. Now, Mr. Holmes, what would you like, per se, for the students and the parents to see in you as a principal of this fine college?
Good question, Oliver. And certainly for me, I would hope that they could see me as a person who's open, that I am friendly, I'm firm but fair, but that I'm out there and I do like to meet and greet people. One of the things that I established was the handshake with all students as they came in. Now, obviously, that's had to come to a quick end in the COVID-19 year, but it doesn't mean that we can't be friendly. And I think even though we've got our masks on at times, we can see through our eyes that we are actually smiling. So hopefully people can see that smile come through and that they know that I'm here in the best interests of the students to see that the staff and I can provide the very best opportunities for all of you.
And in relation to that question, what kind of role do you think that the parents should play in the school's life?
Good. I think the parents have a vital role to play in the school, because I think they need to ensure that they are also talking positively about the school, that they are promoting the values of the school. Being a Catholic school, we are sort of forming our students in a particular way, looking at the values of the gospel. We hope that families are supporting that, because ultimately the parents are the primary educators, and we're here to formalise that education, but also to work in partnership to ensure that the values that all of us have are ones that we promote, and that as you go out into society, the society can see those values shine. So I'm hoping that when a student from Thomas Carr is out there in public, they can say, we can see the way that this student's behaving, that they have that kind of ethos that we're trying to establish. So if the parents are supportive of that ethos, I think that's really important.
How would you encourage the students to achieve that, you say, ethos?
Okay, I think we need to keep challenging students. We know that young people will always make mistakes, but it's how we learn from the mistakes that we make that makes us the person that we'll be in the future. So I think if we can continue to work with you to get the best out of you and to ensure that through our programs, whether it be through religious education or every class that you enter into, that you are picking up on the values of the school. And in that, we're challenging you as a student to be the very best person you can be.
Okay. Now, as a student, Mr. Holmes, obviously we have our queries about what actions are taken at Thomas Carr. And I don't know how many students are going to be listening to this, but the question I'm often asked is, why have we gotten rid of fundraisers and casual clothes days? Now, hopefully you could answer that for me.
I love answering these questions, Oliver. Thank you for putting that challenge to me. Oliver, one of the things that I believe is that fundraisers need to have a particular purpose, and people need to know it's not just about raising money, it's also about awareness raising. So sometimes I think that concept of awareness is lost in the fun of casual clothes. In some ways, I think it's a really easy option. Sometimes we need to dig deeper to look at better ways of raising awareness of a cause. The other thing is, I think schools need to be a child-safe environment. And to do that, if students are in uniform, we can control who is and who isn't on the premises. When students are in casual clothes, it's very hard to distinguish who's a Thomas Carr College student and who's somebody who's just walked onto the site. So there's a safety consideration I have, but there's also that deeper one of let's look at the purpose of this fundraising. The money certainly is important, but it's what we learn about the cause that's really important. So I'm not totally against casual clothes days, but I wouldn't like to see them being so prevalent that they override everything else we do. And I'll give you another one. Sometimes as staff, they're not very happy about casual clothes days because they believe sometimes students' behaviour changes on that day and that some of the opportunities to learn are lost on those days. So they're the things that I have to weigh up when I'm making decisions.
All right, so it's for the safety of the college. Now, there you are, students of Thomas Carr College. There's your answer. Now, my last question for you today, what has been your necessarily greatest contribution to the schools you've worked in? Like, obviously, you've worked in Kyneton, Sacred Heart College, and now you're here. What's your greatest contribution?
I think, again, I work on the fact that students need to know that they belong to a school, that they have a sense that this is my school, I belong to the school, I'm welcome. So there's that sense of hospitality and welcome, but then there is also the high expectations that go with it. So therefore, I believe that I work very hard to get the results of the school to where they should be, whether that be VCE or VCAL. I'm not a fan of just saying that everyone must go to university. We know that students have multiple pathways that are of interest to them. As long as being the principal of the school, I can assist students to get to that chosen pathway and to achieve the very best outcome, then that's what I'm very proud of.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Holmes. My name is Oliver Pond. I'm the middle school captain at Thomas Carr College, and thank you, Mr. Holmes, for this interview. And you are listening to Across Our Neighbourhood and Across the World Live FM from Thomas Carr College in Tarneit.